I had terrible grades, but I loved going to school because I would go there to make money. That's it. I would start with a 20 pence and I would flip it and go around and make it up to like £5. And as soon as I got £5, then I would spend it on the candy. Then I would take the candy to school and I would sell it for 5 pence. So instead, I'm buying it for 1p and I'm selling it for 5p. I would just flip my money in that way and until I got enough. And then I started buying like designer t-shirts. I would like actually pay attention to like conversations in the playground of like kids' needs. Whatever it was I heard people say that they wanted, I used to find a way to buy it and bring to school and sell it for more. That's all I did.
Delroy Gill is America's top black real estate agent and top 20 at Liv Sotheby's International Realty statewide in Colorado. With 400 million plus in sales, he advises CEOs, athletes, and entrepreneurs nationwide. Featured in Robb Report, the Denver Post, and Business Den, Delroy is a #1 trendsetter, Entrepreneurs Organization member, and nationally ranked by the National Association of Real Estate Brokers.
So I'm 19 years old. I've moved back to America, and like this guy is training me to work from home in '05 to sell websites where I get paid a commission. I ended up working with him for like 6-7 years, and he would just train me, and I just like started going to trade shows, selling in person, and I was like, this is like easier than being in the streets. No one's trying to kill you. But then as you know, we were getting on a real trajectory, then the '08 recession kicked in. And all of the real estate companies, Coldwell Banker, Remax, I was selling to all the big names. They all started canceling their marketing budgets, turning their websites off. And I just thought to myself, wow, all of these people know that if they kept doing this or did it in the right way, like they could suck up market share. I could take this software, become a real estate agent while all these agents are getting out of the business and they're leaving all the market share open. Like, why don't I get in the game now? And I just did free loan modifications. So anyone that was in a hardship scenario, they could sign up on this website and I would help them do a loan modification for free. And if they couldn't pay for their bills anymore, then I would sell their house for them.
It's a pretty high demand market in 2008.
It's the same thing that happened to me in the playground, right?
Were you making a lot of money at this time?
That year I made.
Welcome to Money Stories, where we have conversations with founders about money, meaning, and what makes a truly rich life. Today, I'm joined by Delroy Gill, the #1 black real estate agent in America. What an incredible accomplishment. And you focus on high-end luxury real estate. I can't wait to dive into your story. Delroy, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share. And, you know, our mutual friend, Rhett, has introduced me. So I feel at home and like family already. So I'm good.
I love it, man. Well, let's start from the beginning and tell me how you grew up with money and how did that drive you to become successful?
How I grew up with money, or without it, I should say. But you know, when you're in it, when I was a kid, I didn't really have a direct connection or non-connected to it. Meaning, you don't know if you're rich or poor when you're a kid, right? You're just growing up. I'm from London originally. I grew up in a neighborhood called Croydon. It's in South London, and it was a nice-ish neighborhood. It became worse as I grew up and kind of went downhill, and I bounced around from multiple houses. When I was growing up, I've probably been to, I would say, at least 8 to 10 different like middle and secondary, high schools, as they would call them in America. So I bounced around quite a bit growing up, and that was both, I would say, a pro and a con, just bouncing around that much. But I always had fun. I have a big family of cousins, and my grandma had 11 kids, and then all my aunts and uncles probably had at least 2 to 5 children each. So birthdays where you can invite your cousins, and that's about as far as the guest list went. I didn't really have friends attending birthday parties, but I had a big friend group when I was growing up as a teenager in London. It was a very communal place back then. So we would just go to the park, you know, live our life and not really think about money. But then I think when I started to get to, I would say 12, 13, I started like noticing I would, start making requests and start getting a lot of no's, and, all of that started things happening, and the cool shoes that you needed and all of those factors were coming in. And I think I would say my tipping point of money, and I've told this story a few times, but my true, when I was like, this is not okay, was I was kind of like running around with the wrong crowd, and I've got a lot of family that were into a lot of bad stuff as well, so I didn't have that many good role models and examples of like entrepreneurship or business mindset people. And I wanted some money, and I wasn't doing good in school, but I just thought it was easy, and I would just like talk to girls and hang out with my friends. And my stepdad at the time said to me like, hey, if you do good in school, I'll give you £100. And back then that was like a lot of money. So I was like, oh, I want my £100. So I started doing schoolwork. Like for that month, he said, if at the end of the month you could get an A, I'll give you this £100. So I got all the grades, took the test, did it all, came home like with the report card thing, and showed it to him. This is like the very last year in America. It would be in middle school. And so I showed him the grade card, and I got the A. And then he went to pull the money out of his pocket and handed it to me. And it was £100 of Monopoly money. And he said to me, yeah, so you can get the A. You shouldn't need money to incentivize you to get the A. And that put a battery in my back like you wouldn't believe. I didn't even know how much it impacted me even at the time. I remember being a kid and I was real pissed off. But like looking back after those like 10 years of time, like I just always I never wanted to ask for anything, and I never trusted anyone to give me anything after that.
What a powerful experience, not necessarily from the positive side, but sounds like it motivated you.
Definitely. It definitely motivated me. And it gave me, like we say on these journeys, when you're an entrepreneur, like sometimes the things that will get you from A to B won't get you from B to C, and that motivated me as like, don't trust anyone. If your own stepdad can do this, like, and you can't rely on people. So I just had a internal thing where I had to get it. Don't ask anyone for anything and just do it all yourself. You can't even get your parents to help you. No one. So I just started thinking of anything like CDs, clothes, candy. I just started making my own money from that day forth. Never asked for a penny again.
How did you start making money?
I would go to the store before school, and I would buy like we have these like things in like the corner stores, and you get like penny. It was like 1 cent, like individual pieces of candy, right? So I would just spend like £5 and get a big bag. This is $5, equate to like $8 today, but lots of money back in the day. But and how I would get that £5, because my parents stopped giving me lunch money at that time. I was getting free lunch, so I didn't actually have any cash. I would start with a 20 pence, and we would have this game that I created, and it was called Flip. And you would just flip a coin, heads or tails, and whoever's won, you would get the other person's coin. So you would just start off with 20p in the day, and I would flip it and go around and make it up to like £5. And as soon as I got £5, then I would spend it on the candy. Then I'll take the candy to school and I would sell it for 5 pence. So instead, I'm buying it for 1p and I'm selling it for 5p. So I would just flip my money in that way, and until I got enough. And then I started buying like designer t-shirts, and then, so on and so forth. And I just started buying a bunch of stuff and just flipping it and just keep on reselling it over and over. Just anything. I would find anything that I would, now I'm saying it out loud. Now I'm thinking I would like actually pay attention to like conversations in the playground of like kids' needs, like what they would be talking. Oh, I lost my pencil today. I really wanted this pen, or, I want to buy this t-shirt. Whatever it was I heard people say that they wanted, I used to find a way to buy it and bring to school and sell it for more. That's all I did the whole time when I was in high school in London. That's all I was focused on. I had terrible grades, but I loved going to school because I would go there to make money. That's it.
So there's a singular focus from a very young age.
Yeah.
And how does that start to unfold? When did you come to America? Is that later? How does your
Yeah, so going through school, because I literally was just going there and making money, truly was getting terrible grades. And then by the end of it, we because I would go sometimes and then I would leave at lunchtime, never go back because I'd made the money, and we would just hang out at my friend's house and then like go back at the end of school, meet my friends, and then go on the bus going home. So by the end of it, me and like 5 other friends, we got expelled from school. Like right before we're supposed to take, like in England, it's called GCSEs. That's like your finals to take your tests. Like 6 months before the end of school, all of us got expelled from school. So we weren't able to like study and learn for our GCSEs. And then my mom said to them like, no, he needs to get something done in his life. So she petitioned for me, and I ended up being able to just go back and take the test, which I completely just failed at because I didn't study. I was kicked out of school before, and I didn't take the time for the 6 months to actually study and do that because I was focused on making money. But I did take them. I don't even remember what I got. But I got kicked out of that school. The school prior that I left from to go there, I was getting into trouble, and I got kicked out of that school. And then my parents moved the last time, like far, far away from my school, and I was traveling like 2 hours to school every single day to go to a nice school in a better neighborhood, which I still found the bad kids to get involved with. But then once I had finished and took those GCSEs from that school, I was just kind of floating around, just hanging out, not doing anything with my life. Then my stepdad got a job opportunity to move to America. And he said, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't want to go. Like, I'm staying right here. I'm good to go. I'm making money. I'm fine. Then they kind of gave me this dream of America. Like, we're going to get jet skis. We're going to live in Florida. There's going to be a beach. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, actually, that could be good. But then, like, I was like, do I trust this? And then we moved out. And then we came, like, while we were going through immigration, the problem was I thought I was, like, coming to check it out. And then when I got here, they said, like, we're going through immigration, so you're not allowed to leave. So I was essentially stuck from the age, not stuck, but I'm 17. And so at 17, we moved to Colorado. And at that time, they were like, you can go to school, you can figure out your life, because now I've finished school. In England, we finished when we're 16. So I've come to America and I'm 17. And they don't finish for another year. So I was like, you can go to high school, or you can try and apply for college, or you can get a job. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go back to school to meet people my age. And then got here. And when I went to high school, I was just like, man, everything felt like it was like 2 or 3 years behind. Everyone, like just the level of maturity from a city kid who had been traveling to school on public transportation since he was 8 years old through the city of London, growing up, making money since I was 12 years old, to come into an American high school where their parents were dropping them off in the carpool lane at 17, 18 was just like unfathomable to me. I just was like, you have to ask your parents like to pick you up and drive you places, and this guy has a car and he's only 6. Like, everything was just off for me. And then people wanted to get drunk and get wasted. And like in London at 16, people were going to rave and taking like hard drugs. Like, I had just seen so much in life that like these guys getting drunk were just like, you're getting wasted. Like, I'm from a city. Like, you can't even get that drunk and live in London. Like, you would, at your age, like something could happen to you. You could get robbed, you could get kidnapped, like things could happen to you if you were 16 years old, 17 years old and drunk walking in the city of London. So I just was like, this is way too, like, we're off kilter on like maturity. So I went through that year, met some friends, had some relationships, but the day the green card came back in the mail, I booked a ticket and went back to London. Was back and forth, met my wife, had 2 kids. And then, I had my friend group still that was kind of halfway doing like street activities. And I was like trying to get into a corporate lane and get out of any of that lifestyle that I was living before. There was a guy in America who was from England, and he was a VP of marketing, and I got introduced to him, and he was like, I think you could sell like my software. And I'm like, sell software? What is software? Like, I had no idea what software was. I was super rough around the edges. But he just saw something in me, and he was like, no, I think you can do it. And he was like now I know way more terminology, but this is like a full-fledged startup company. This guy is in his basement with, 3 different desktops, 7 screens, like trying to build this company. And then he's got me there on the phone, just dialing, doing sales. And he just started like really believing in me when I came back. So I just took that, and I was like, I'm gonna really dive into this, because, even when I was 12, the people around me that I saw outside of like doing any street activity, the only other people that I saw that were making real money were people that were like either like building houses, doing work on houses. Like, I would always see something to do with housing that was like a good lane. And then my real dad, he did like fixed up homes and sold them as well. So I was like, I didn't have a big relationship with him, but whenever I saw him, he was doing some work on some houses as well. So I was like, yeah, that house stuff. I don't want to have like a boss and like someone telling me what to do, because I had been making money as well. So once I ended up like him telling me the software had to do with real estate. He was like, it's real estate software. I said, oh, real estate. This is interesting.
Is it?
Interesting. Yeah. So I sit with him, and I'm making these sales calls. So it was basically a lead generation tool for real estate agents. And it was before social media. This is probably in like 2005 probably.
And how old are you at this point?
I am 19.
Okay.
I'm 19 years old. Like, even saying it out loud is crazy. So I'm 19 years old. I've moved back to America, and like this guy is training me to work from home in '05 to sell websites where I get paid a commission. Not knowing I'm an independent contractor, have to pay taxes, do everything myself, and I'm running a business. I didn't fathom. I thought, hey, this is my boss. This is a job. Like, no, I was an independent contractor. He contracted me to sell this software, and I didn't know about equity or anything. So I started selling this software like crazy. And true, like that was the first time I had a mentor. Like, when I was sitting with him in the basement, he would like analyze my phone calls, right? And he would say, like, I would finish the phone, I would get on the sales call, and I'd say, okay, yeah. Like, great, good to meet you. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're interested, like, just give me a buzz back. And then, hang up. And he'd be like, no, you don't finish a call that way. You make sure there's a follow-up to it. You say to them, hey, thanks. Did you get all the information? Do you have any questions? No? Did you need some time to think about it? They would say yes. They would say, okay, no problem. I'm going to call you back next Tuesday at 3:00. Does that work for you? And then you would get that. So little, those little fine-tuning things that now I know in business are just so impactful. That fine-tuning. So I ended up working with him for like 6-7 years. And he would just train me. And I just like started going to trade shows, selling in person. And I was like, this is like easier than being in the streets. No one's trying to kill you. Like, nothing is going to happen to you. And you're just selling to corporate people. They buy it. I couldn't fathom that over the phone, I was charging someone $2,000 to $3,000 for software, and they were giving me their credit card information, and I was just closing deals and like processing credit cards over the phone in 2005. It was like absolutely mind-blowing to me.
How much money were you making, or what was your first taste of success?
Yeah, so at that time, like, again, because I didn't fathom like how this worked, so I was just like, my rent, it was like, I think my rent was like $1,000 a month. So I was like, if my rent's $1,000, I just need to make like $1,500 a month and I'll be good. So like at first I was like, I need to make that. And then like all my bills were paid. And then I thought like I had made it, right? I was like, all my bills are paid. I'm making money. and I'm working from home. Like that to me was just a win. I was like, I'm good. But then my wife got pregnant and I was like, oh, I'm having a baby. I might need more money than this. So after that, like I was making probably like 19 grand a year, 30 grand a year back then. It was like above minimum wage, but I just always equate to like, I didn't want to have a job and have a boss. So I just thought it's better than that anyway.
I'm killing it.
Yeah, I'm killing it. But then in year 3, like the market in real estate started picking up and I was really selling. So I started making like real money at that point. And then I started thinking, all right, I want to buy my first house and do different things. So I started like really like analyzing and doing my taxes a little bit different and learning about things like that and trying to like go down the road of how much money do I need to buy a house and not live in an apartment. And that was probably the first time the switch went on to like really now to start budgeting. How much money do you really need to survive in the world? And I was like, I need $5,000, not 1,500. I need a lot of money. So I just started saving and started selling even more. We started upping the prices. But then as, we were getting on a real trajectory, then the 08 recession kicked in. And all of the real estate companies, Coldwell Banker, Remax, I was selling to all the big names. They all started canceling their marketing budgets, turning their websites off. All the individual agents were canceling their websites. And I just thought to myself, wow, all of these people do not know that if they kept doing this or did it in the right way, like they could suck up market share. Because my mentor, the guy who told me how to do this, like the selling formula, it just works for anyone, like a sales funnel. So he's like, whether it's cornflakes, cars, or houses, like how you're having these conversations is how you would sell anything. So I was like, well, if that is true, what he told me, and it worked this time, then I could take this software, become a real estate agent while all these agents are getting out of the business and they're leaving all the market share open. Like, why don't I get in the game now? And I just told him, I told him, I said, hey, I want to transition. And he's like, you're going to the dark side. What are you doing? He's like, do you not see what's happening in the economy and real estate? And like, this is the first time I've ever seen a recession. I don't even know what he's saying to me when he says recession. I'm like, what do you mean? They don't know what they're doing. I just thought they don't know what they're doing. I didn't think about market, recession. All of that was gibberish to me. So I just said, all you need to do, I said, Paul, I'm sure you've made a lot of money off me. All these, because I was selling him and getting all the upfront fees and he was collecting all the monthlies. So he had residuals coming in. And I said, look, just give me the software for free for 2 years when I leave. You don't need to pay me out. I don't want any equity. Just give me software for free for 2 years. I branded it and I did Your Hope Team. And it was a time when Obama was coming into it and he had his whole brand around hope. And I just did free loan modifications. So anyone that was in a hardship scenario, they could sign up on this website and I would help them do a loan modification for free. And if they couldn't pay for their bills anymore, then I would sell their house for them. And the reason I thought of that idea is because I couldn't pay my bills and I did a loan modification on my own house. After I started making money, we bought the house and then I thought, man, there's got to be other people going through this too. If I'm going through it. And when I bought my house a couple of years before that, the market was really good and I didn't get enough education. I was like, I'm going to educate people about these loans and why they're in this situation and how it happened. And I just was like, I'm an immigrant. Like there's other immigrants that came to America and they don't know like mortgages and how they work. Because prior to that, I had never even had a car loan in my life. Everything I knew about when I came to America, I bought my car cash. Everything I did was cash. I was like, I didn't know about leverage and, all of those types of things that, when you can play with money in a different way. So I was just getting flooded with leads, loan modifications, cranking them out, doing short sales and pre-foreclosures. It's probably running 15 to 20 transactions per month. Files are probably as thick as a dictionary. And I joined Remax at the time and everyone there was just like, how are you doing that? Why would you do that? And again, like I'm just coming in so naive, not knowing like that my files are 10 times more complex than a regular real estate transaction. Because for 2 years straight, I'd never done a regular real estate transaction. But I was just like, if this is how they are, like they're difficult, but I can do them. And I just did. Like I even helped title companies and Countrywide Mortgage. I helped them set up their short sale department. Like I literally trained some of those individuals because they had never, short sales weren't ever a thing before that. And I had done so many that they called me to speak to their department. So I had a leg in. And that was the biggest bank at the time, is Countrywide. So I knew all the sales reps at the bankers, and I was talking to them on the back end. One time I sent a pizza lunch to every single person at Countrywide. I found the address because in those scenarios, sometimes there were like I would get a phone call and someone would be getting kicked out of their house the next day. And to get that to stop from happening, to stay on hold, like to get through was near impossible. So I had direct relationships with the people that could turn those things off. And so I was just like cranking on it hardcore, did that for 2 years. And then in year 3 was the first time I ever did a regular transaction.
I mean, there's so much to unpack here what strikes me are a couple of threads I want to pull. Number one, you solved your own problem, right? Which is one of the classic entrepreneur ways to go make money. You were struggling to pay your bills and you just thought somebody else out there must be doing this. Yeah. It's a pretty high demand market in 2008.
Yeah. You know what? It's just like, listen, it's the same thing that happened to me in the playground, right? That one thing, I don't know where the level of like foresight or vision, and I've taken like, you know, when you do your profiles, I'm a visionary. I see what is coming, and I think a lot of it just has to do with like really knowing like the direction that things you think are going to go in. And sometimes you see them from yourself, or sometimes you hear it from the people you're surrounded by. But anytime like entrepreneurs are doing stuff, it's like if you listen to what the murmurs are for people, what their gripes are or what your gripes are, there's a problem to be solved. There is something to fix this. And can you do it? Do you have the skill set to do it? And I just thought, with this, I do, because I did it myself. So that's how I thought about it, but always just listening out for where you think your personal skill set. Some people wouldn't have the patience for it. I just have a knack for patience. I have something in me. Well, I think it actually got drilled into me from my real dad, my biological dad. He used to always say to me, like, you know, you don't need to rush it. Like things will come when they're supposed to come. Like when he used to make money, he's like, he could buy a car and he's like, no, I'm not going to buy it right now. I'm going to wait. And he always used to just wait and build up. So I've always just been patient and knowing that things take time and don't rush ahead. And I also had experiences from a young age of seeing what the fast road could end like. I've seen people die. I've seen people go to jail. I've seen like all the scenarios people could think of. I've seen it happen in real life. So it's like, do you want to go down that road, or do you just want to take your time and get there slowly? Like, I'd rather just take my time. Because the other thing I used to think about was like, wow, when I'm 20, like after 20, you're going to be like, the back half of your life is way longer than the front. Like normally kids, like when I have conversation with kids, they like think they're like, they know everything now when they're like from 0 to 20. But then I used to think about like, I always used to think like when I'm 50 or when I'm 40, and it's like and then I thought, wow, someone lives till 80. That's 40 more years. That's a long time. So I thought, I'm good. If I can just like make it through and get to like 20 or 30, like I've got a long way to go. I can still live for a long time and figure some stuff out if I can make it to that point there. And that was all my goal was like make it to 21, 25, and then get through whatever madness this is. And then I can figure out life after that.
So you're helping people refinance their short sales and well, were you making a lot of money at this time? I was making decent money, but I was so far behind from the prior years of starting
that real estate business, because those transactions, they took 12 to 18 months. So I was behind a year on bills and all my mortgages, and like I was cutting hair. I just remember many days, like I would open the refrigerator and it was just like bright lights. It's like there's nothing here in there. But we were going to the food bank, like me and my wife with one baby. And I just remember, like my son was probably like 2 or 3 years old. Yeah, maybe 4. And I just thought, man, I can't let him have any memory of this. Like, I do not want my son to remember going to the food bank. Like, no way. So it's like, it's even emotional thinking about it. It's crazy. But yeah, we would go and I just thought, no. So yes, I was making money, but I was catching up. I was just getting back to zero. I would say in year 3 of real estate, I began to stabilize and like began to be able to pay the bills and like, go out to dinner. Like that was the highlight of the amount of money I was making.
What's it like to go from having to go to the food bank to starting to taste that first success?
You're nervous. The food bank is so close to your memory that you're like, should we spend this $100 on dinner? Like, what if this doesn't continue? I was living in fear all the time. I was just like, will this continue? No, I don't know if it will. So let me not enjoy it and just keep working, just grind so hard. Like I would work 12, 16-hour days nonstop, like every single day. I just wanted to make sure I was so far away from that I wouldn't be fearful anymore. And it's like that carried me for such a long time. Like I remember, and then because even when I started becoming successful in real estate, I would get around people, and it started to change after I made my first 6-figure. I had a 6-figure year, and my mentor, I had this like mini group of agents that we were around, and a mortgage guy, and he was doing big business at the time, and he'd say to me, "Delroy, like, what's your goal for the year?" And I'd be like 60 grand, 80 grand. Like I would do these real small steps. And he's like, just say 100 grand, man. What are you doing? And I was like, 100. And he's like, why won't you do 100? And then I just remember like another thing, when I was leaving to go back to London, my stepdad said to me, like, because he wanted me to go to university, graduate high school, all that stuff. He's like, with your life, you're never making more than 100,000. You're never going to do that.
Wow.
You're probably going to end up at some crap job. And I just thought,
it's amazing what those imprints. Just one comment. You put a thermostat.
I put a ceiling.
A well ceiling.
I had a ceiling right there, and I was just working towards to get to that ceiling. I thought breaking through it. Nah, he told me no. I'm gonna try and get there, but I need to get close to it before I even say I'm gonna get there. And then when I was going from 60 to 80, my mentor was like, nope, I'm not taking it. You're doing 100. You're doing 100. You're doing 100. And I was like, all right, I'll do 100. Okay, let's see what happens. And then that year I made 95 grand. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can make whatever. At that point, I knew I could make whatever I say I could make. That was it. It just changed me. It was just a mindset shift in that moment. And I was just like, now it's go time.
And I just wonder, we talked about the lack of trust that was built into your childhood. How did you trust these mentors that they had your best interests at heart?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, so the first guy, Paul, he was introduced for a family friend, but I definitely kept him at arm's length for sure. Didn't let him in too much. The second group, and at first it was from a relatability. So the first guy, he was from England. The second group, there was a lady from England in that group as well, and then the two other individuals were from America. So I could relate to people. Like I knew that those people from England, they would know. Like in London, it's a different, like how race and rich and poor and everything and the structure of America is, it's different in London. In London, it's very class-based system. When I meet someone from London, they can tell you that he's from a rough part of South. He's from a rough part of England. They will know 100%. Like they know how I speak, how my tone is, how my mannerisms, where I'm from. And in London, it's very difficult to break that mold through career and like maybe in entrepreneurship you can, but in just a corporate setting, near impossible to make it all the way through. Nowadays, it's changed a bit, but growing up, definitely not. It was like that kid's.
And is it different in America? How did you experience that?
Yeah, it's different in America. You could have like this would equate to imagine like and I don't know the specific things here and peoples and their types, but like I'm gonna stereotype for this point. But imagine like a country bumpkin from like Texas. You could meet him and he could present in that manner but he could be a billionaire. He could be an oil baron that has made millions. And he could also have started from ground zero and made his way up. Like that cannot happen in London. No. In America, it can. You can be from anywhere. You can have any type of mannerisms and you can figure out entrepreneurship in some way, shape or form and make it. Many will say it's changed today and it's not as American dream is alive or is it not alive? That's a whole different discussion. But definitely from a base level of opportunity, you can work hard, make the right connections, become trustworthy and have a skill set and become successful in America. That's different.
And did you ever feel like race played a factor in your success in America? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean it's got pros and cons. So it's funny because I'll tell you a story when I was starting out and I was at Remax and I was doing a lot of business here. So this is the English part of it, which is so I was at the office working late one night no one else is there. I'm just hustling. Then I leave to go out to get something from my car. Forget my key card to let me in the building, so I get locked out. On the ground level of that Remax building was a Wells Fargo bank. So I'm going inside. I see these people. I've been working at this office for probably 5 years. See them every day, chit chat in the lobby, whatever. So I go back. I'm knocking on the window, and they're like looking through the glass. They're like, "What? There's a guy like knocking on the glass here. What's going on?" So they like hide. They literally hide. And I'm like, what? So they start leaving. But like, I know the building. I know where they live. I'm just trying to get inside. I'm like, open the door. It's me from upstairs. So they run and start heading out the back. And I'm like, oh, let me run around to the back then. Because I know what door they're coming out of so I can get back in and tell them it's me. So I run around to the back. They literally slam the door closed and I'm like, they're gonna call the cops. They don't know who I am. They just think it's a black guy. They're fearing for their lives, probably thinking I'm robbing the bank. And I was like, whatever. So I just end up just leaving. I just went home. I come back the next day. And then there's the bank. You go into the lobby, turn right, the bank's there. You walk straight ahead is the lobby of the Remax office. So I go up to the front desk. And then the front desk lady says to me, hey, were you working late yesterday? And I was like, yeah, I was here. And she was like, yeah, the bank said like someone was trying to break in. Like, did you see anything? Did you like hear anything? They said like there was a black guy like knocking on the glass. He was gonna break the glass or something. It's like I was like, yeah, really? Her name was Cindy. I said, really, Cindy? Did they say it was a black guy in the building? She said, yeah. I said, that was me, Cindy. She said, what? No, but you're from England. And I was like, yeah, but do you not see, like, I am black. Like, she did not equate. I was the only black person in the entire building. She didn't equate me to being black because I was from England. She just thought I was the English guy. So that's like, I don't know if that's a pro or a con. It's like, but there's all different ways in which being from England and being black. But then there's the opposite side where it's like people will just see me, assume that I'm American, or that I've like had to make my way through it, and because I'm English, it's just been a benefit, or because I'm black, you can't do it. So I've had like business partners and associates that are white, and they're like, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go my separate way, and they're, oh, I don't know, like you need the white guy, you need the white face, like you need that to like.
They said that explicitly
to my face.
How does it feel hearing that?
That's and there was another time when, because I knew there were zero black luxury agents in Denver at the time, and so I wanted to expose more people to it that were minorities. So I brought like 10 black, highly productive agents to Sotheby's to have like just a meeting and discuss. And we had a top producer dinner a lunch that same day. And I met them in like at 10 a.m., toured them through the office, and, said, hey, ask me any questions. I'm here. If anyone is interested, like, let me know. Like, you can get into luxury too. Then I went to dinner and she was like, oh, what was happening with that meeting you had? Like, you should, you probably, like, for appearances, like, probably not bring all those people here. I was like, what realtors? I was like, they're really, like, what people? What? Tell me who I shouldn't bring here.
Wow.
And she was like, I was like, no, I don't know. I don't know what you mean. Like, so, there's all different angles. How does it make me feel? It's a real thing. Racism is a real thing. And or ignorance too is so sometimes it's like a serious matter. Like that lady telling me, like, you shouldn't bring them here. I know what the underline of that meant. Cindy at the front desk was just naive.
Right.
So it's all different ways that it can play a factor. But I just always just try and be a pathway. Like I want to blaze a trail. I don't care if anyone's been here or done this before. Anyone that has, I'm always open to learn and get information from. But I just want to kick the doors down and leave them open. It's like I've come here, and I don't, like, sometimes definitely there is, privilege blocks that exist in America that I may not be a part of. But I'm also have privilege blocks where I come from. So I see the opportunities that are here and how they can be navigated in the right way. So sometimes it's just the same thing for me. Like if everyone met me when I was from 19 to 25 and before Paul like molded me and gave me the right vernacular to use and how to handle this, they would have probably been like, there's no way he's making it in life. But it could just be a conversation with somebody and you can help them and learn and educate and do different things. But, the more I got into real estate as a Black person being in luxury was the more I realized how non-existent my position was. Like there was nobody, like coming from London. And then the first year when I applied for the association award of Black real estate agents and I became number one, I was like, that was unfathomable to me. Like I didn't think it would be me. Like this is America. There's so many Black agents here. There's LA, there's New York, there's Miami, there's like top brokers in these places. So for it to be Delroy in Denver, I was just like, this is crazy. And then I started even digging into it, and it's like, okay, if we took out race and we just said, well, that year I think I did like 38 million in business. And then I looked at just the national rankings, and like the top white guy did probably like 1.5 billion. So but that's the gap. I'm number one at 35 million. And then the top guy just overall is at 1.5 billion. That's the gap in America.
Wow.
Right? So it's like, now I'm like, I look at both of those things of like, well, that's an opportunity because the gap is so large that there's way more business to acquire. But then also, wow, that's how far behind and positioned black agents are in America in comparison to their white counterparts.
I mean, that is such a staggering gap.
Massive.
So where do you go from here? How do you close that gap?
Yeah, for me, it's just small steps. As I said, I'm patient. So got that award, realized where the gap is. So now I just let me get number one in Denver. Let me become the top agent here, and try to close that gap and see if that's doable. Start there. And then, if I wanted to expand and go into different markets, you need to get those types of numbers. You do need to be in an LA or a Miami where there's 30 million, or Aspen, or, there are places in Colorado where it can exist. But even just as an individual, like there are big leaps that can still be taken. And it has grown. I'm thankful and blessed that I've been in the position to even pull that benchmark higher and higher, and other agents have followed, like bringing awareness around of it too, of like, hey, even because within Sotheby's there is now like a black agent collective of like luxury brokers, and now they're all applying for the award, and everyone is like seeing it as like something to aspire to now.
Amazing.
More people are joining. So again, it's all about awareness and exposure. I think that was the one thing in my life where, like when I was growing up, like I kind of had the rich dad, poor dad thing. Whereas my real dad was like a menace to society, and my stepdad was like a corporate 9-to-5 guy. And I would be around both of them and see different sides of the world. And seeing different sides of like, from a luxury standpoint too, of like, okay, he goes to a corporation, and like that corporate, ACI was the name of the company. It's like IBM, similar kind of caliber. But like that company could rent out Disneyland, and like it would just be the company event. And I would go to that. But then I would go back to the hood, where we lived, and then like go with my dad and then see all these weirdos and drug addicts and stuff. And I'd be like, wow, there's like so many different sides to life. But then both of these individuals were dealing with every facet of life. Like my stepdad was dealing with people in the hood and corporate, and my real dad is dealing with corporate and people in the hood. So I would always see all these weird dynamics of people. And growing up, and I would both of them would take me along to different things. So I was just conversating with so like judges and any type of person. So my whole life growing up, I just felt very comfortable speaking to anyone. You could drop me, and I moved school like 10 times, right? So I've had to rapidly build relationships and meet people and get to know people and see who I can trust and not trust. And that's how, even when you were asking me before about like how did I, become vulnerable around that mentorship group and things like that. It's like through going through all those experiences, I keep a little distance, but I can sense an intuition. I have a very, very high level of intuition and sense, because when you grow up around danger, you have to read a room like a lot. Like I didn't know if I was sitting in this seat today, but I wouldn't sit in that chair and look at the board, because I need to see the door right here and if somebody's coming in it. Like if I go to a restaurant, I can't sit with my back to the door. There's just certain things that are just baked into who I am at this point, where I can walk in a room and read a room and know who people are and sense, what is happening. So that's how I'm able to be vulnerable with more people. And then as time's gone on and, you learn, you grow, you get therapy, and you go to retreats and you join entrepreneur groups, like you start shedding those walls even more and letting more people in and your experiences, and it helps you grow. Whereas like when I was saying you get from A to B, not B to C, which was like when I got from A to B, I did hit a wall. I wasn't growing anymore. And it was because like I was still in that fear state and I wasn't letting people in, but I had surpassed and superseded the mindset of the people that were around me, and I needed to share. But I didn't trust to share with those people. I had to find new people that that I felt comfortable sharing with.
So when was the first time you felt financially successful? Like, when did you feel like you had made it?
I'd probably say 2020, COVID. Money was just being printed. I couldn't fathom like that. Like I remember 2020. This is why I thought I made it in 2020. In 2020, I looked back at the vision board I had made in 2017. I had made 2015, sorry. I made a vision board in 2015. And we were moving house at the time, and I pulled out the vision board. We were moving. And me and my wife looked at it and we said, holy shit. We're moving into the board. We are at the board. Every single thing that was on that board was like I'm saying it was a dream. Like at the time when we did that board, it was literally like this would be amazing. Like this is a dream. And then we pulled it out and like the house was there, the vacations were there, the organic food was in our fridge. Everything that was on the board, it was happening right at that moment. And I was like, damn, we're living in our dream, babe. Like we're actually in our dream. And I was like, I've made it. Like we made it. We did it. And that was the first time when I felt like, damn, we're successful. Because like I remember prior to that, my wife pushed me along to do a lot of that vision board. Like I'm a manifester for sure. But I'm saying the things that were on that board, like the organic eating and, some of that type of stuff was like, why would we do that? Like we need to save money and shop at Walmart. No, we don't need organic. It's all the same. Like, I was just trying to make up excuses we don't need those things. Like we don't have the money for that and we don't need to go there. We just need to get our bills paid and have, Sunday dinner and we would be happy. And she's like, no, we need to eat organic, this, and there's all these different things were on the board. And then we, go into that place and I was like, yeah, I'm glad you told me that because we do need all this stuff on the board to live a life.
That's amazing. And what does wealth mean to you now?
Wealth means like that there is opportunities that have been created by myself for at least 2 generations, my kids and their kids. That would be wealth to me. Like I don't need wealth personally, but I do all of the things that I have struggled through or have had to learn the very hard way. Not that I want my kids to have it easy. Absolutely not. They need to. My kids are stubborn and as rough as me in terms of like they're gonna make it by themselves and not want any help. I just offered my son to help him buy a car the other day. He's like, no, I don't want your money. But like I want infrastructure set. I want education passed down. I want things that are set up so that whatever they choose to do, there is an opportunity for them. Sometimes it's just relationships. Do I know the right people that if today, God forbid, something happens to me, not just that we're rich financially, but I've got people that will reach out to my kids and make sure that they have good guidance. They have good mentors around. Like that's wealth to me. Like who can help outside of me and what kind of, I call it the empire. That's actually a thing that we use. Like we're building wealth. No, we're building an empire. And what is this empire? Who's in the empire? What structures are in it? So we're just building this community where like now forevermore, it's okay. There will be people that put up guardrails for this and can give you information. Even if you blew all of anything that's passed down, there'll be people who hold you accountable.
I love that. And outside of money, what makes a rich life for you?
A rich life for me includes just I want to say balance, but kind of cliche, um, because everyone's balance looks different. But I think it's it's the ability and freedom to control who you're surrounded with. That's a rich life for me. Anywhere you go, whether it be on vacation or at work or deal finding or podcasting, wherever I'm at, I want to be able to say no to anything. And that is a rich life to me. I want to be able to say no to that client or no to that podcast and know that it is not. I'm all about like energy and vibrations. So like if the vibration wasn't good, I could just leave, and that is in any setting. And I don't have to, like, I remember again, like in the beginning of my career, the fear would just have me in low vibration, bad energy. And it's like, but you need that check to get that done. So you got to close this deal, even though this client is terrible, or you go to this event and it's not really, these people aren't aligned with you. So you're like there, but it's not really uplifting your spirit and your energy, and you had to stay there because you want the information or you want to get the deal done. Like, I don't want to be around any of that. Anything that is not uplifting, that is going to lead to a positive outcome for everyone, that's a rich life to me.
And you touched on therapy and community for starting to heal some of the fear that was so deeply ingrained. Can you walk me through that journey a little bit? How do you start to heal some of that deep ingrained fear from your upbringing?
I think you definitely, and I encourage therapy for everyone, especially if you've come from like the hood in any way, shape, or form. You need therapy. Like all my friends back home, I'm always telling them, you need to go to therapy. You need to go to therapy. We all do. We got PTSD. We got all types of stuff. We got parents that didn't know what they were doing. We got immigrants that came from third world countries. We got parents that were in, foster care and jail, and these are our parents. Like, do you think they had the skill set to like raise us in a healthy manner? No. But like, I didn't know that. I thought like when I was growing up, like the amount of alcohol that my family drank, I just thought it was normal. I grew up in like a Caribbean, Jamaican is all my family background. So I would go to like, any event, and there would be like people were drunk all the time. Everyone was just drinking. Drink 24/7. So when I met my wife and I was like just drinking, like I would have a drink all the time. And I'd be like, in my mind, I drank way less than what my family did. So I was like, it's nothing. She's like, you drink all the time. And she's come from a household where her mom never touched her drink in her life. So it was like, she started pointing out things where I was like, oh, maybe that is a problem. I didn't even know it was a problem, and vice versa. I was like, hey, that's not, what's going on here. So we started like, we had both come from like traumatic backgrounds. And then, so that started festering in our own relationship. And then we were like, we need counseling to figure this through, and to get through this, we've got to get some counseling. And I think when you say, how do you begin that journey, you have to be able to do the work and trust the process. Those two things like will save you. But if you're in there like combating the counselor or saying, I don't need counseling, or that's for loser, whatever it is, I don't know, all the different roadblocks people put up. These are the things, man. Like, why do I need counseling? I talk to my friends, and it's like, no, there are real like terminologies and things that happen to us that when you grow up, you don't know that's a reference to X, like whatever it may be, personally. So it's like, once you start understanding those things, you can start to evaluate them in a different way. Oh, my family doesn't drink a lot. They're alcoholics. Like, but I didn't even know. To me, an alcoholic was like homeless on the street, like holding booze and like dirty clothes. Like I don't register those two things as the same, right? So it's like when you start to unpack and then you start to overlay your life and your role and your behaviors within that, like the discipline, then it comes down to discipline. Because then he would like, my counselor, would like push me and test me. But luckily for him and for me, I'm a driven person. So he would say, well, like, you drink a lot too. And I'd be like, well, I can stop drinking. And he'd be like, okay, don't drink for 90 days right now. And I'd be like, okay. And I'll go and not drink for 90 days. And so all of the time, I would just always make sure whatever he told me, I would just take it on as a challenge and just do. Oh, you're not good at communicating with your wife. And I would just try and make, like, so all of these things I would have to do. I wasn't like, yeah, because at first, like, when my wife would say it to me, I'd be like, "Babe, I do. I do. And then I'm like, all right, the professional is saying it. I need to change it. All right, I got it. So I was just willing to learn. Like, I think that's another running theme for me is like, some people, they get, like, you're a wealth mentor basically to people, right? So it's like, you probably have found, maybe earlier on in your career where it's like, you're giving this person like these gems. It's like this piece of information is about to change this person's life. And then early on, it's like, this guy's like, yeah, I'll think about it. And you're like, what? No, like, this is going to change your life. Like, if you do this. And then people like fluff around and if you tell me something where I'm like, wow, this is about to change my life, level me up, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. Like, whatever it is. When I go to seminars and I went to conferences, and I think it's because I started doing it at such an early age when I was going to those trade shows, I was taking notes. Right? I go to a trade show and then they have a speaker. I'm not, like, I didn't book it, but I'm just in that environment because I'm attending as like a selling person. And I was like, oh, these trade show things, they're kind of cool. Conferences, like, you learn. I'm coming there, I'm getting fired up now. I'm taking notes. So, like, that was my first entry into counseling. To me, it's like, oh, your mindset. They used to talk about mindset a lot at those conferences. So I'm 20 years old, learning about mindset. Like, my friends, I'm going back to them, telling them, no, it's your mindset. And they're like, bro, I'm broke, man. Like, no, we can't do that. Like, and I'm like, I'm going to the dealership tomorrow to sit in an Aston Martin, touch the steering wheel, smell the leather, and visualize myself driving down the street. And they're like, they're not going to even let you sit in the car. And I said, okay, that's what you think. And I'll go to the dealer and I'll take pictures and I'll go back and I would hold on to those things. And they'd be like, wow. And then I would drive around neighborhoods and I'll visualize myself in the houses. And like, all of that came from those conferences and me hearing what those people are saying. So I became open to listening to professionals at that time. So that just translated all the way through to go into counseling. It's like, I'm just going to listen to this professional because I just always think, what's the worst that can happen? What, like, if I do what this guy says and I win, that's amazing. If I do what this guy says and nothing happens, that's okay. Nothing happened. Like, that's the worst.
Low downside.
Right. Low downside. So just go along with it and have the discipline to do it. But I get that it is, some of it is hard. It's hard, but like, I sometimes just give myself challenges. Or every quarter, I'll just do something crazy, like 90 days, no coffee, 90 days, no music, 90 days, journal every day. I just always am just trying to do something to better myself.
I love it. And what would you go back and tell the guy having to go to the food bank? What would you go back and tell that version of yourself?
I tell him to just go straight into luxury real estate first. No, but I'd say, I tell him you're winning. You're winning. You don't know it, but you're winning. Like, you've just got to stay the course. You're doing everything right. You're doing it all right. Because, what I could have done at that point when I was going to the food bank was what I joked about with people. Like, I could have gone and got a job at IKEA and the Home Depot and just said, you know what, this entrepreneurship it's not for me. I'm not cut out for this. I'm failing. But, those failures and that struggle gave me such a deep connection with my clients at that time. that 17 years later, those clients are still my clients. And I shared with them my story because I related to them so much. And I felt their pain, and they knew I was empathetic to their pain that they were going through, because I told them I've done this. I had to do a loan modification myself. I will help you not get kicked out on the street. So me going through that was like the biggest helping hand to those people, seeing me help them, and someone that was willing to listen and help them for free, for absolutely free, because I knew how much that meant to me, not being in that situation anymore. And I didn't want them to be in the same situation I went through. So I would just tell him, you're doing everything right, and you're going through this so you can know exactly how those people feel.
What an amazing way to end this amazing conversation. Delroy, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing your story, and I can't wait to have a front row seat to your continued success.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Absolute pleasure.
Cheers.